What would you do if you were personally sent a puzzle that possibly contained threats of political violence? Welcome to Ladies Fright. I'm your host, Joan. Trigger warnings. Mentions of violence, anti-Semitism, racism, and suicide. In June of 2015, Gadget ZZZ's lead writer and CEO, Johny Krahbichler, received a letter from Poland containing a CD. Now, this isn't someone's mixed CD they were trying to get a producer to play, mostly because Gadget ZZZ is a Swedish tech blog and not a radio station, and because the disc was labeled with what he assumed was a product key, but later decided it was a puzzle. The disc read YWEIDTAXMD JVJXUWVWF2Z2E = and contained a black and white video. The video opens with what I can only describe as the sound of two computers fighting during mating season. A figure stands in the shadows in what looks to be a monk's robe and a plague doctor's mask. If you blink, you will miss it, as what appears to be Morse code pops up for a single frame. The figure holds up 3 fingers, then 1. Numbers flash by, then 2 with more numbers flashing. As the image becomes pixelated, you are drawn in to see if you can find any more flashing code. The figure holds up his hand and a light begins to flash from it. Once again, the rhythmic timing indicates it is Morse code. The figure points at the camera, and the letter G, with almost an eye shape around it, appears off its left side, followed by a V on its right. Another code flashes as the figure looks to the bottom right corner to draw our attention. There's a box with a triangle and a dot dancing around. Another code. The camera flashes again and the figure's arms are sprawled out with another code. The final scenes are that of the masked entity staring down the camera, basically daring you to solve the riddle. Not shown here, but will come up later, is the DVD menu, which looks like this. Under the thumbnail and amongst the bones was the sequence of numbers and letters, 11B-X-1371. Everything about this video is unsettling. The sound is unnerving and almost feels like it distracts you, while the mysterious figure is there to threaten you, evoking authority and divinity with the monk's robes and the dread of a darker time in human history with the plague doctor mask. So many codes flash in the short 2-minute video. You know there is a mystery to be solved, a message meant to be discovered, and based on the spooky images, I doubt it is a happy message. Krahbichler was intrigued, but he knew he couldn't piece this puzzle together on his own, and posted about it on GadgetZZ.com on October 12, 2015. He had already tried to see if Google could help with some of the hidden meanings, or at least help him decipher the codes, but he had no luck there. The only thing he was sure was that the disc came from Poland based on the stamp and envelope. So he published the video and said, quote, "If you know what it is or if you managed to crack it, please leave a comment or send us a message in the contact section. It would be great to know what this oddity is," unquote. And thus began the global effort to find out exactly what 11B-X-1371 was. Johny kept audiences up to date with the community's findings on his blog, and I thought that would be a good structure for this episode. So we are going to walk the same timeline everyone else did back in 2015. The first update comes with great news. The post has gotten people's attention, and they're trying different methods to see if some of the odder features in the video have a secret meaning behind them. These answers come from Reddit. Reddit user Tropical Johnson posted Johnny's article to the subreddit r/creepy. The post generated 2,200 comments. The first thing the update mentions being tackled is the awful noise playing in the video. I mean, really, to have something so annoying playing, there must be a reason. The sound was put through a spectrogram. A spectrogram shows the physical representation of frequencies. There is something in the frequencies, what looks to be the lower half of a skull, and the words, "You are already dead." On October 14th, an album was uploaded to the website Imgur, with screenshots taken of different secret messages and codes, all thanks to user Maniac Hedgehog. The images were easier to study, and the comment section became a place of crowdsourced annotations and analysis. Someone noticed that the front of the DVD was an encoded string of base 64. According to Wikipedia, quote, "Base 64 is a binary-to-text encoding that uses 64 printable characters to represent each 6-bit segment of a sequence of values. As for the binary to text encodings, base 64 encoding enables transmitting binary data on communication channels and only supports text." Unquote. When Googling 11B-X-1371, a post was found from May, with all the comments being about a creepy video and a name. Parker Wright. However, the name is the only thing that can be found. Who Wright is and what he has to do with the video is just as much a mystery as the rest of it. At 1:37 into the video, a series of letters and numbers appears to the bottom left of the figure. These were deciphered as a 4-move checkmate in the game of chess. The Morse code, which was written out towards the start of the video, was translated to say, quote, "Red lips life 10th, unquote. At least that's how it was written in the post. Later on, the phrase will be changed to "red lips like 10th. From what I have seen in my research, no one is really sure what this means. However, the phrase stuck, and it became one of several names the video came to be recognized as. However, it was what was above the phrase and what was discovered by the next update that made people start to wonder if this was less of a game with fun puzzles to be solved, or more of a threat riddled with warnings. 33, 38, 2E. 38, 39, 37, 37, 30, 39, 2C, 2D, 37, 37, 2E, 30, 33, 36. No, we do not have bingo. We have coordinates. Coded GPS coordinates, that is, to 38.897709, -77.036543, which brings us to... Oh. Along with this discovery comes the update. There are more images to be found in the sound. This time, a not safe for work image of what appeared to be a woman being bound and possibly tortured, which brought up questioning if these were acts of violence or maybe even fetish content. With these disturbing revelations, Johnny begins to discuss some of the theories going around about who created this video, why they made it, and most importantly to Johnny, why they sent it to him. Some are really worried, thinking it could be a serial killer targeting him or giving him clues to their crimes, a la the Zodiac Killer. Some think it may be even more conspiratorial and the Illuminati are behind its creation. Johnny reminds everyone that this is kind of silly. Why would someone behind such evil deeds send a warning to a tech company in Sweden? This is where I come to really like Johnny. His brand of skepticism really lines up with my own. I find a lot of the time conspiracy theories fall apart if you simply question, why would someone put so much effort into this the way that is being suggested? Oh, it's all about control and power. The big shots want to control you. Okay. They already do, and it didn't even take projecting a deity into my brain or whatever Project Bluebeam says it is going to do. I have so many products I buy or pay into where I don't agree with the stance of the owner of the company or what they choose to do with my money. I am constantly trying to pick the lesser of two evils when shopping. I have been forced into so many subscription services, had to download so many apps, all against my will. I am living in a time where my civic duty to vote is becoming harder to fulfill, and I have it easy compared to so many others. How much more control do you really think the elite are looking for? Anyway, Johny highlights a comment which suggests this may be more likely an art project than a world domination one. Turns out, our boy Johny was not sent this video as a personalized puzzle for him and him alone to solve. The video was discovered on the paranormal board of 4chan. Wow, 4chan and Reddit. How did a girl ever end up so lucky to have both of you as sources in one story? The post was made all the way back on the 9th of May, a month before Johny believes he received the package, which leads me to wonder why it was sent to Johny in the first place, and Johny is wondering the exact same thing. The post on 4chan says the CD was randomly found on a park bench, though Johny is suspicious of this story and thinks maybe the poster is actually the creator of the video. The 5th update is very short, but very rewarding. An image was found running the sound from the DVD menu into the spectrogram of a human skull. To its left, a series of numbers. To its right, wingdings? Basically, a bunch of symbols. The update doesn't come with any new theories or inferences or what it could mean to the plot of the video, just that it is there. Johny's next post piggybacks off the last and says there may be more to the audio. A commenter has said they found voices. The comment reads, quote, "I found voices in the recording, but I'm having trouble isolating it. The best example I can find is between 20 to 40 seconds, and it sits between 35 to 40 hertz and 70 to 90 hertz. It looks almost like an echo between two bands of the same thing." Just gonna step in for a second and say when a band is mentioned, here it means a range of frequencies, not like the audio is hosting some kind of battle of the bands. I had to call my brother to help come up with an explanation, so everyone say, "Thanks, Alex."
Thanks, Alex.
Okay, back to the post. I'm going to try and layer the two bands together because 35 to 40 hertz on its own sounds too rubbish to make out. I can also hear a clear beeping that's not in sync with obvious Morse code in the visual spectrum. Personally, I think there is actually a bit more in the audio, unquote. Little did we know just how right that commenter was going to be. The Daily Dot, a digital news site out of America, found the video in another place. Similar to the previous video talked about on 4chan, this one was also on a park bench. So maybe there is some validity to the 4chan story. This also brings up the question of how many copies are actually out there. We would also have to question why are these copies being found out in the wild when the one in Johny's possession was mailed. This post came with several reveals to the story. The major one being the binary title was decoded to say muerte, or death in Spanish. There also seems to be the word die written backwards found through the spectrogram. In this post, Johny questions if it is a random pattern, but I'm fairly positive it says die, which is not the only place this word appears. In a German forum called Microcontroller, the message "you die" was found hidden in a 3D stereogram. Johny excitedly reports that he found the envelope the CD came in, and now that he had it in front of him, he has some corrections he needs to make. The biggest one being the letter was addressed to him personally, not the blog, which changes the creepy factor of this story. If we are to believe the 4chan poster and the Daily Dot reporter, they came across these videos randomly and out in the wild. This version of the video was meant for him specifically. If I was sent a video like this, I would assume the message inside was targeted at me. Another realization is the amount of stamps used, 5 to be exact, though the postage does help create a trail. Based on the postal marks, we can tell the package was sent on May 23rd, and it was processed in Warsaw, Poland. The choice of stamp is also interesting, since it is a person wearing what appears to be a piece of paper with eye holes cut out over their face. Gotta love a stamp that is on theme. I threw the picture of the stamp into reverse image search and found it was a Polish stamp issued back in 1996 as part of a series of zodiac sign stamps. The one in particular that was used was Capricorn. I have to say, I think Johnny's assumption that these stamps were purposely chosen is correct, especially now seeing that they started in circulation almost 2 decades prior to this package. This also confirms the letter was most likely originated in Poland. In addition, the flashing lights at 32 seconds were deciphered to mean 2015, there will be 3. Remember how I said this was from 2015? Well, the next sentence I'm about to say will surely remind you. There was a theory that this was a marketing campaign for Skrillex. That statement brought me back to begging my brother to make any other kind of music than dubstep while he sat on my parents' couch on his college breaks. Anyway, for those of you who missed that musical craze, Skrillex is an American DJ and musician who rose to popularity in the early 2010s for his dubstep music. Dubstep is a type of electronic dance music which came from the South London and is rooted in the Jamaican sound system party scene. The connection between this and Skrillex was he had a song come out in May of 2015, the month this was mailed, called Red Lips, which, if you remember from the second update, the Morse code was translated to say red lips like 10th. Johnny wondered if this was some kind of guerrilla marketing campaign. He notes how it would not be completely novel for an electric music artist to hide images in their music, citing Aphex Twin hiding images in their musical video, Window Licker. Skrillex had also mentioned his laptop and hard drive were stolen from his hotel room in Milan in March of 2011, and maybe the CDs being found were amongst the stolen items. A couple of problems with the theory about these being stolen items. One, from what I saw, there were no CDs stolen, but I know that doesn't mean they couldn't have been burned onto CDs. However, it seems odd to me that thieves would release the information almost 4 years later and conveniently around the same time the song was coming out anyway. That doesn't really make sense. Johnny reached out to the company Maxell to see if he could find out where the DVD was sold. Unfortunately, the response back said that they could not advise him where the disc came from since they had 3 locations which distributed to all of Europe. Even though there was one dead end, this update still comes with the biggest finds we may have seen throughout this whole thing so far. One being the origin of the violent scenes have been found. The one image is a woman who is nude except for bikini bottoms. The scene around her can only be described as carnage. This image has many who saw it in the spectrogram worried they were seeing images of an actual crime. Thankfully, this update shed the light that this was an image taken from a German slasher film made in 2007. The link to the second image was broken, so I was unable to see it. However, Johnny describes it as looking very close to Courbet's painting, Origin of the World, which is a very close view of a female's intimate parts. According to the update, the difference between the painting and the image in the spectrograph version was lack of hair, which leads Johnny to believe this was from André Kesquet, an artist who made work based on Courbet's. A series of numbers were also able to be decoded into a message and was found to say, "A new order is on the rise. You will join or you will fall. The virus has spread too far. It must be stopped. We will dike it at its root. 13 Ani, 50 will burn." The decoder admitted to not being positive about the 13 Ani 50 being translated properly. If you think of it as a year, it would be 1350. The user attributes this to being when the Black Death was happening in Europe. The Black Death was the world's deadliest pandemic, leading to the deaths of an estimated 50 million people. To put that in perspective, COVID-19, which was worldwide, has been attributed to the cause of death on the higher count of 36 million. By the end of the Black Death, 50% of Europe's population had died of the illness. The association with this time period also makes sense considering the mask worn by the person in the video looks very similar to a plague doctor's mask. The plague doctor's costume is a very misunderstood thing. I think most of us associate it with the Black Death and would now even think of it synonymous with death itself. Both of these are not really correct. First, the beak costume was not used during the Black Death, but actually centuries later during the 17th century. The first mention of the beak costume comes from Charles de Lorme, who was writing about it during the 1619 plague outbreak in Paris, France. He had created an outfit made of Moroccan goat leather. I have seen resources say that the plague costume was worn to protect doctors from airborne disease. However, the leather covering a person head to toe suggests the fear of contagion probably more came from the belief transferring from direct contact with the patient. As mentioned before, the mask includes a beak, which was about 15 centimeters long and would be filled with strong smell. According to a Live Science article, quote, "The beak was the most iconic feature of the outfit and was thought to be the essential for the doctor to prevent inhalation of pestilential miasma or disease-ridden air coming directly from the patient." Unquote. You also have to remember it probably just smelt awful in general, and having something nicer to smell, I am sure, helped get through the grueling work doctors were doing during these outbreaks. I do imagine whoever made this video and puzzles probably made the same associations most of us do with the Plague Doctor costume. The Plague Doctor costume also goes along with the theme of the filming location, which was also revealed in this post. Twitter user Xen searched Polish Google and found images of an abandoned sanatorium whose walls matched those seen in the film. The place happens to be near Warsaw and has a name I could not even begin to pronounce. However, in some places I saw it called Zowławka Sanatorium, so I will refer to it as that. Though I was very willing for this place to be chosen as the setting just because it looked creepy, I thought it may be helpful to look into the history of the location and see if that had any clues of why it was picked. Zowławka Sanatorium was founded in the town of Otwock, Poland, a little over 26 kilometers outside of Warsaw. When the construction of the sanatorium started in 1908, institutionalized treatment for mental illness and disorders was very new. Along with the Society for Poor Jews with Nervous and Mental Illnesses and a large donation from the philanthropist Sophia Endelman, Zowławka was meant to treat Jewish people with mental illnesses assimilate back into greater society through practicing employment. A real teach a man to fish mentality. At its opening, the sanatorium housed 95 beds and gradually increased to 275 by 1935. Unfortunately, all this progression came to an abrupt end in 1940, and the sanatorium went from a place intended for healing of Jewish people to a place to torture them. When the Germans invaded Poland, they turned Otwock into a ghetto. Ghettos were sections of cities and towns where Jewish residents were forcibly segregated to. These sections were not maintained, making them overcrowded and unsanitary. Zowławka fell into what was known as the medical zone in the ghetto. It was opened through the occupation. However, it was no longer used to better Jewish lives. Nearly 400 patients starved to death as part of the ways the Nazis tried to exterminate anyone who did not align with the characteristics of the so-called master race. Zowławka Sanatorium closed at the same time the ghetto of Otwock closed. On August 19th, 1942, the Otwock ghetto was liquidated. The way a ghetto would be liquidated is to kill every resident through either mass shooting or sending them to the Treblinka, a concentration camp in northeast Poland, to be gassed. Some at the sanatorium heard about the planned liquidation the day before, and in order to spare themselves and patients from the violent death, they took potassium cyanide to end their lives. Those who were able to escape the ghetto were later turned in by the local population. 140 people, including children, met their end on the hospital grounds. Of the others who were sent to the gas chambers, 90% of them died within 2 hours of arriving at the camp. I purposely don't try to be graphic when retelling the stories and history in order to avoid triggering people. However, it would be naive to not acknowledge that history can be ugly. I don't want to shy away from how dark it can be, because I feel it's a disservice to both education and the reality of it all. History doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. If we do not acknowledge history, Even the darker parts that make us feel icky to learn about, we are doomed to either repeat it or keep living in a recycled system which benefits the few while extorting and harming the many. In 1943, until the end of World War II, the sanatorium was reopened as 11B-X-1371. This was a eugenics project established by Heinrich Himmler, which provided a place for unmarried women to have their children adopted by German families who were more racially pure and healthy Aryans. These families were also typically SS members. The Cross of Honor of the German Mother, a medal, was given to the women who bore the most Aryan children. According to the Wikipedia page on 11B-X-1371, quote, set up in Germany in 1935, 11B-X-1371 expanded it into several occupied European countries with Germanic populations during World War II. It included the selection of racially worthy orphans for adoption and care for children born from Aryan women who had been in relationships with SS members. It originally excluded children who were born from unions between common soldiers and foreign women because there was no proof of racial purity on both sides. During the war, many children were kidnapped from their parents and judged by Aryan criteria for their suitable to be raised in lesbians-born homes and fostered by German families, unquote. After World War II, Zofuka once again opened for medical purposes. This time, the patients were mostly children and younger people. In 1985, the facilities were used to treat those with neuropsychiatric disorders associated with drug addiction. This lasted until the mid-90s when the center was finally closed for good. This was when it became a popular destination for paranormal hunters, vandals, and apparently those needing a backdrop for their mysterious filming projects. Getting back to the video, if this revelation tells us anything, it confirms the video was made and comes from Poland. The final part of the update talks about how the people at Cognitive Journeys found Parker Wright, the name that was found in association with 11B-X-1371 all the way back in the first update. In an attempt to not start a manhunt on someone who could have nothing to do with this situation, Johny does not provide any further details about the gentleman. On a roll from the last update, this one found the origin of two more of the hidden images. Over at the Daily Dot, they found an image from yet another horror movie called The Bunny Game. The next one they found was a less fun find. Until now, these violent images have been from fictional pieces. No one was actually harmed in the making of the scenes. The next image was a photo of a victim of the Boston Strangler. Parker Wright made a statement on Twitter claiming he's not part of the project.
Sure, Jan.
Another interesting tidbit was that the first uploader of the video, AETBX, reached out to Johny and asked him to remove an image which was also uploaded with the video. He confessed that he was trying to throw researchers off and had added in other messages and coordinates to Easter Island. The most misleading message being the 1 year or less message. This confession also brings Johny to the realization that even though they were the first to upload the video, they're most likely not the creator of it. This update was less a progression of the story and clues and more just a community announcement. All the links to Gadget ZZ website were blocked on Facebook. Unfortunately, because it had come to light that there had been false puzzles and answers added by AETBX, everything had to be examined more carefully. Even with this setback, more puzzles were solved. Johny forgot to mention before that the phrase, "we are the antivirus," was found in the spectrogram a while back, so he officially added it to this update. Using a pigpen cipher, another message was revealed to be ad opporonere hominis, which was found out to be to target men in Latin. The Reddit user, the UFO Music, was sent a spectrogram and a binary message. Wait, isn't that the image AETBX asked to have taken down? What is it doing here? The binary message was a phrase in Spanish, which when translated to English said, "You will still have 1 year or less." AETBX had said they came up with the 1 year or less clue. So was he still messing with the puzzle, or did he lie about not being the creator? In this update, there was a link added which would take you to theories about why the video existed. I'm not going to focus too much on the theories we have already seen and have debunked, but some that have been not fleshed out in these updates. One is that this is a very complex promo for something. I know we talked about Skrillex, but another name that came up was Dan Brown. Dan Brown is an American thriller writer, and you may know him best for his book-turned-movie, The Da Vinci Code. The writing often was set up as a treasure hunt, which involved secret messages and conspiracy theories. The Da Vinci Code was the second book in a series known as the Robert Langdon series, based on the protagonist. However, it was the first book adapted to film. It also has terrible reviews, so they went on to adapt another book, Angels and Demons, and that one also has bad reviews. I guess third time's the charm. It was announced that Inferno would be put to film in October of 2016. Some believe the 11B-X-1371 could be a promotion for the film. I don't know, but I feel like something with Tom Hanks' name attached to it and the third movie in a series would have more traditional promotion. Another possible promotion it could have been was for a sci-fi TV series called 12 Monkeys. This was supposed to be based on a time-traveling mystery. The main characters are from the year 2043 and are sent back to 2015 in order to stop the release of a deadly virus. Who wants to tell them they were 4 years too early? Anyway, in the show, the virus that was released in 2015 ends up killing 7 billion humans by 2017, which I looked it up, and the world's population was around 7.6 billion in 2017. So we're all goners. In order to prevent this from happening, they need to stop the shadow group known as 12 Monkeys. Okay, I can see this one making a little more sense. One, with the plague doctor's costume and this being about a plague lines up. Also, the hit TV series Lost used multiple ARGs to promote itself back in 2006. However, with all these possible means of promotion, the question still remains, why would they not have been sent to larger news outlets? There was another set of theories. These were a bit different because it took the video as a serious threat instead of a dark art project. These theories are probably why this ARG is still talked about to this day. One being the video was an invitation to join the Illuminati, and the other was a threat to the life of then US President Barack Obama. The Illuminati theory stems from the inclusion of the Masonic eye and the message, a new order is on the rise. You will join or you will fall. You have to once again remember the time this was being examined. This was peak Illuminati conspiracy theory time. This was just 2 years after Beyonce throwing up the Rock Nation sign during halftime Super Bowl performance, and people taking that to mean her marriage to Jay-Z had granted her access to the elite. I feel like at this time, anyone who was successful or had some social and or political sway was accused of being in the Illuminati, and everything they did was a supposed dog whistle to them being in the group. Johnny didn't think he had enough pull in any kind of power, which would make the Illuminati interested in having him join their ranks. When it came to the idea this was a threat against Obama, notably the most disturbing theory so far, it came primarily from the coordinate to the White House being hidden in the coded message in the video. From there, some people tried to take the solutions to other clues and fit them into that narrative. One of those clues being Red Lips Life 10th was actually an anagram or a word or phrase which can be made into another word or phrase using the same letters for kill the president. Now, I know you're all concerned that my dyslexia has gotten the best of me because there is no K in that phrase. And you would be right about the K thing, not about my dyslexia. This time. Anyway, the logic behind this is based on when the code was put through a hexadecimal code. What was thought to be a 6 could actually have been a lowercase b. Now, I will say I'm confused where these numbers versus letters debate is coming from, since I thought the phrase was deciphered from Morse code. This theory believes that 46 equals F, while 4B could be equal to K. Besides this very loose connection, Johny also reminded us in this forum that they have actually not found a threat. The closest would be the countdown of a year, but as far as we know right now, that was false information added by AETBX. Another clue trying to force this theory to make sense was the 13 Ani 50. Some thought this could mean 13 stripes and 50 stars found in the American flag. Just to be cautious, even though it doesn't make sense why a random tech blog in Sweden would be sent this warning, the US government was informed of the video. At this point in time, Johny had not heard back from them, which is a good thing. Most likely means this is not being taken as a serious terroristic threat. An image of a bloody hand reaching out found in the spectrogram turned out to be another stock photo. Another theory arises that this could be an artistic project from the same creator who made the Magibon project. This project was said to be an experiment of memetics, which is the study of how behavior, ideas, and cultural traits are spread through society through imitation. The subject of the so-called experiment was YouTuber Miriam, who also went by Magibon. The website has since been bought by someone who now looks like an advertisement for travel, and Google really wants to let you know that it is deemed not safe, but according to Reddit, the website looked really creepy 11 years ago. The skull from the spectrogram and the bones from the DVD menu origins were found, both just stock photos. The next update feels more like a personal attack than anything. Someone said how the standard height for one line of Polish bricks is 6.5 centimeters. Using the wall behind the figure in the video based on this standard, they find the person is around 1.3 meters or 4 foot 2 inches tall, leading this poster to believe this is either a small guy or a girl. Still small. We love our short kings here. I don't trust anyone who can see the top of my fridge. 11B-X-1371 has made it to the big times, and now someone has been the masked figure for Halloween. The rest of the update is just sharing memes made based on the project. Getting popular has its negatives, though. Mostly the copycats. In the original video, one of the messages said there will be 3. At this point, people are starting to make videos and claiming they are the sequels. Now, these videos have to be scrutinized to see if they are legitimate or not, taking away from solving the first video. Another person received a video through the mail and saw the package came through a post office in Warsaw. They then found the distance between the sanatorium and the post office in Warsaw, which is almost 14 miles away. People asked Johny to re-examine the envelope with a UV light. He didn't have one on hand, but considered buying one if the mystery continued. Hi, editing Joan here. I don't know what happened, but I lost this small section, so I'm just recording it right now. For update 20, they noticed the symbol on the stamp was for Capricorn, but with the power of hindsight and Google reverse images, we already knew that. The symbol is also the letter G in wingdings. I personally still think the person who mailed it only used it because the person's face was covered by a mask. At first, this update was about how maybe the internet vigilante group Anonymous may be part of the video, though that was shortly lived because the creator stepped forward. On Twitter and Facebook, a man took credit for the project. Other people have said they were the creator before, but this seems different. He replies to questions in a sincere way, but anyone could give an even-keeled response. He provides photos of a mask which looks very similar to the one the figure in the video is wearing. But others have shown similar masks before. He said the purpose of the video was a political statement done in an artistic way, but I think it was pretty clear it was political since we found the coordinates to the White House. Also, don't get me started on the argument that all art is technically political. He posted the source code for the blinking lights in the hand, but he could not provide evidence the YouTube account was his, saying he forgot the password. The thing that may make this person different is we have seen this name before. The person who stepped forward was Parker Wright. This update comes with the acceptance that this was all created by Parker Warner right. To really drive the point home, Parker changed the description to the original video from "Are you listening?" to "Are you watching?" showing he also regained access to the YouTube account. Fright took a picture of the serial numbers on the blank CDs he owned and told Johny he should try to compare them to the serial numbers on the CD that he received to show they were from the same batch. Unfortunately, Johny was not really able to make out the numbers from the image Parker provided. So, who is Parker Warner Wright? Well, we learned a lot about him when the Daily Dot, another source that has been on the investigative trail with Johny and the sleuths, got him to sit down for an interview. We can start with, this is not his real name. The mysterious artist claimed to currently live in Poland while holding US citizenship. When asked if he was worried about the authorities coming after him, since some felt he included an anagram in there of "kill the president," he said he didn't include anything in his project without first checking to see what legal protections he had as an American citizen. Parker said in the article, quote, "Art is a very protected medium for speech. As it would appear, the more political that speech, the more protected it is," unquote. Now, for those of you at home, I'm going to suggest not trying this. I agree, speech as well as art should be protected, but I'm not going to encourage pushing that envelope unless necessary, especially with how we find the world today. I will say, what I found most interesting about this interview is how Parker has explained multiple times that his piece was meant to be taken as a political piece. However, I don't know what political statement was meant to be there. Now, as I said before, all art is political, but not all art's subject matter is politics. Without a clear understanding of the message, it feels like this was political just to be edgy, and it really could have been. The 2010s was certainly a time to be on the internet. When it came to why did Johny receive one of these films, why did it seem like he was the chosen one to receive a copy of it in the mail, the answer was the apathetic version of "because you were home." Parker had picked Johnny's business card out of a group he had. Quote, "To be concise, you won the business card lottery." Unquote. Johny figured he must have met Parker face-to-face at a consumer electronics trade show. Parker's identity and purpose for the project was met with mixed reaction. Some were happy there was no threat involved. Others were disappointed their fun puzzle game is now not as mysterious as it once was. However, Johny was not deterred by this reveal. If anything, he was even more determined to discover what the whole thing meant. The answer to all the puzzles felt closer than ever. At the end of this update, we learned Parker had promised a sequel which would help answer some of the more confusing parts of the video. There was a tip that the glove with the light in the video was now in the hands of a collector. After joining a group chat, Johny learned what the sleuthers thought the glove could possibly look like. He agreed it would fit the profile of the technology used to light it up. However, the image had 3 gloves, which were fingerless. There was only 1 glove in the video, so what would they need so many extras for? Also, there was no explanation why they were fingerless. There was one more piece of the puzzle solved. A string of letters was found to say, "iPads complacent are the weak. Stand and fight with us. Take down the black beast kill." Which, okay, I know this is a political art project, but is this not racist? When you have a message referring to the president and the coordinates to the White House, I am led to assume this is about the US president, who I will remind you was Barack Obama, our only black president. So seeing the term "the black beast" doesn't really sit well with me. When it comes to Parker, he has stayed fairly quiet. His last Facebook post cryptically saying, "disregard my last." When Parker does post again, it was written out numbers with coordinates next to them. These coordinates would most likely lead to a physical copy of the new video that Parker had promised. The final update comes with an announcement of Parker's second project, 11B-1369. 11B-X-1371 is arguably one of the most memorable pieces in internet horror. At one point in time, major newspaper, the Washington Post, were part of the hunt to see what this was and who made it. They reached out to AETBX through email, and they responded saying they were Daniel from Spain. Though this particular information did not lead to much, I still find it so interesting to know actual reporters were getting in on it. I didn't get into looking into ARGs and unfiction stories until long after 2015, but I have known the image of a plague-masked person standing in an abandoned building. I knew the imagery was creepy. I just didn't understand the amount of curiosity and alarm this piece created online. Going through the journey of discovery with Johny was interesting to me, and I loved learning bit by bit all the new discoveries he and the groups helping him had made just over time. I think it's also awesome to see how each new bit of knowledge gained, Johny became less and less fearful and more intrigued by the mystery. It really shows you how knowledge can be the antidote to fear. Oh, what do I know? I'm just some lady talking about some frights. Thank you very much for joining me in this one. This was a little bit different, but I gotta say it was a lot of fun too. I'm always saying it's a little bit different, but you gotta change it up sometimes. You gotta make it fun for everybody. But this formatting was a little bit different. Exploring this was a little bit different. Let me know if you ever saw this image or this video even, and what you experienced while you were watching it, or your first time. I'd be so interesting to know. But I'm gonna actually get out of here quickly because I am assuming this episode is gonna be a long one. And it's already pretty late at night when I'm recording this, and I'm sleepy already. So, yeah. Before I go, though, here at Ladies Fright, I like to offer you 10%. 10% of what, I hear you asking? That's a great question. You could be 10% more likely to get sent a mysterious DVD, but not be able to play it because everything is digital now. You could be 10% less likely to find yourself having existential dread because we are quickly losing all physical media and truly own nothing. Or you could be 10% more likely to find out that you've been a flesh mecha for an AI this whole time. But you won't know unless you like, comment, subscribe, or share. And if you do all four, it'll become 40% because it builds on itself. That being said, I'm gonna get out of here. I hope to see you the next one. Bye!